Hello and welcome to week 3 of phase 2. This is a video just to kind of go over your week 3 parent materials guide and fill you in on the activities and those county assessments that are due this week. Let's go ahead and dive in. Here in the language arts block, we do have activities for reading, writing, and word learning this week. You'll notice there is a green assessment here for writing. So that is a county assessment that will need to be turned in to your teacher for feedback. It'll be assessed as either meeting expectations or not meeting expectations. And if more work needs to be added or if anything needs to be changed, you'll hear from your classroom teacher and those improvements can be made, no problems. So let's go through reading first. So this week we are starting a new skill for summarizing and doing a retell of a story. This is the first week of this skill, and this is something that we will be working on for the next 3 weeks. So this week it's modeling, doing some practice with just the graphic organizer. Next week there will be more modeling, using the graphic organizer and writing a paragraph. And then that third week will be a county assessment for this skill with a passage that has been provided by the county. But this week I go over how to complete this first step of the activity with this 2-part video. The first part goes over what to use for this activity, models it with a story that we're all familiar with, The Three Little Pigs. And then part 2 is how to apply what we practice with a brand new story that is called The Cool Bean. So those 2 parts are here, part 1 and part 2 for that video. These review notes just go over how to complete your 5-finger retell graphic organizer. You do have an organizer provided for you here if you would like to use this and fill out your information on this organizer. However, in the video you'll see that I just hand drew my graphic organizers, and that is totally fine. Once you're done with that activity though, share it with your teacher for some feedback. Your writing assessment this week mirrors what Ms. Gibaldi modeled for you all last week. So you all are going to be using that Venn diagram setup to then write a comparative paragraph based on 2 characters. So definitely check out her assessment overview video here. And then you can go back to the notes video and her example with the book Verity from last week before you complete that assessment that you can access at this link. Again, feel free to complete this activity on your own piece of paper, or you can use this county version here. If you would like to see how that's going to be assessed, there is a checklist for scoring that you can access at this link. For word learning this week, we're taking it back to the activity from week 1, where you took a word, unscrambled all the letters, and made some new words of your own. This week, instead of looking for rhyming words, though, you are going to be looking for prefixes and suffixes in the new words that you learned, or in the new words that you create this week. If you'd like to revisit that work that Mrs. Rotundi modeled for you last week, you can access those resources at this prefix link and at the suffix link right there. Go ahead and submit that list to your teacher once you're done creating your words. For money this week, it is all review leading up to your money unit assessment. Again, this parent guardian overview is the same document that has been in the past 2 parent material guides. Mrs. Duke has a video here to take you through the money choice board and the money reflection to help you review for your unit assessment. And then you do have that summative money assessment that you can access at that link. So everything you need for math is linked right here on this document. You have 4 questions with this money choice board, 3 questions with the money reflection, and then 5 questions for the summative assessment. Again, that assessment is in green. This activity right here is that assessment, and that is something that must be turned in. Again, it will be assessed as either meeting expectations or not meeting expectations. And then if your student needs to add anything or correct anything with the problems that they're turning in, you will hear from your child's teacher and they can add to their work to make sure that they meet that level of meeting expectations. Scooching on down here, we have our first social studies unit, which is super exciting. We have decided to go right into our social studies unit on ancient Mali, which is brand new content for your 3rd grader. Mrs. Rotundi has a wonderful overview of the unit that really kind of dives a little deeper into the content. And it is in two parts. Part 1 can be found here. Again, part 2 here. She takes you through some of the textbook pages that the students would have been exposed to if we had been at school, and gives them some great photographs to look at and some great things to think about while they're learning about this new civilization. So there are 3 activities that we're asking them to do. That third activity is going to be their unit assessment, which is just answering 6 related questions. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like over here on the social studies document. The first unit listed is Rome, but we decided since we had just covered Rome as a grade level, we're going to kind of skip over that, and we're going to jump on down to Mali. We're only asking the students to complete activity 1, 2, and 3. Activity 4 is just creating some vocabulary flashcards, and we decided that wasn't necessary. So just focus on those first 3. We can jump down to look at what those look like. Zoom out a little bit. So here is resource 1. You're going to look at those causes and effects and see if you can identify them. Here is resource 2. You're reading about the geography and the growth that ancient Mali saw during its time of greatest influence. And then resource 3 is this reading here about storytelling, the government, and then economics of the civilization. And these are those 6 questions that the students are going to answer and turn in as their unit assessment for the county. Again, these 6 questions will be assessed as either meeting expectations or not meeting expectations. And if more needs to be added to your students' work, they can do that without any problems. So that essentially goes over your parent materials guide for this week. Again, there are those 3 summative assessments for the county. You have 1 for ancient Mali, 1 for math with their money unit, and then their writing assessment comparing those 2 characters with the Venn diagram and the paragraph. Otherwise, most of the information is the same. You've got your options for turning in assignments, your office hours, your Zoom links. And then for your extra resources this week, we've given you some titles that you can access on Epic. This first set are wonderful for summarizing and doing the 5-finger retell for that reading activity this week. And then we do have some additional social studies titles that could be fun to expand your knowledge about the civilization of ancient Mali. Along those lines with ancient Mali, just because it is just a quick, brief 1-week unit that we normally spend a lot more time on, Mrs. Rotundi has done a read aloud of a great picture book about the King Sundiata, who you will hopefully listen and learn a little bit more about. And then if you'd like to use some question answer cards, study cards to help you practice your knowledge about ancient Mali, you can access those here. And then, like I mentioned just a minute ago, we are skipping over that Rome unit because we just completed it at school. But if you'd like to go back and read those resources and complete those activities just for some extra practice with the content, feel free to do so. But those are those extensions for this week. So some epic titles, a read aloud about King from Mali, some question answer practice cards, and then if you'd like to go back to that Rome unit. So that just about does it for week 3. As always, if you have any questions about the links or the content that is coming at you this week, reach out to your child's teacher and we will be there to answer your questions and help you along the way. Best of luck with week 3. Happy learning.